What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate reverse rants, no hate. So, I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to address a couple of things, respond to a couple of things. Okay. Now, for starters, the word is um, Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford is supposed to be a done deal for October. Now, obviously, negotiations are still going on because I haven't seen anything about what venue it's going to be in. Um, they have a date, I think, of the 22nd. I could be wrong, but anyway, whatever. It's it's a targeted date that they're looking for and location, just without the details, because where it's going to be exactly, that's not what was talked about or explained. Now, I did see Errol Spence on his Instagram and on his Facebook. Now, I'm not like friends with Errol Spence on Instagram or Facebook. Any of that. I just check to see, and Twitter to see like if I see anything. And that's what I do with certain fighters. I want to see if it's coming from them. You know, at least a management team, something. So it's supposed to be a done deal. Now, the thing as far as that, but for me, when it comes to Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, until I actually hear multiple parties, both parties saying it's a done deal, the fight's on, and then we know that okay, it's signed, sealed, and all but delivered, then that's when I'll dig more into that. We've talked about the two of them so much and what we'd like to see and what needs to happen, and it's like it's no need to go into the same thing all over again. Just especially when it's the possibility of it not actually happening when it's supposed to. So we'll deal with that another time. Yes, I did hear about that, so I'm aware that they're supposed to be fighting in October. Okay, I already addressed Anthony Joshua versus Usyk. I mean, there's not much to say. We saw what happened in the first fight. Everybody has an opinion about what they think is going to happen in the second fight, and we'll just have to see. I mean, there's no need to go into that again. Now, Lomachenko, I've also, gotten word that, he is supposedly saying he's ready, to come and fight Devin Haney. And from what I understand, he was still over in his country. I don't know the details of that. What I did hear of it was it's a possibility. I have not. I mean, and Devin Haney just fought the other day, so it's not like they've already started negotiating. Like this is what's going to happen. No, it's the point of there's an interest there. Okay, now this is where I'm going to take it from here, and I'll dig into this a little bit more, and I want to address something to close this out, something else, but actually that fight, okay, part of the terms, from what I understand, with Kambosos and Haney was that they were gonna. It was a, now. Here's my thing: was it a two-fight deal, or was it basically if I lose the rematch, this is what the terms will be, right? I'm asking that for this reason. What I heard come out of Kambosos' mouth, and what was reported from multiple sources, but I go by, like I said, what the fighters say. The deal was if even if Kambosos lose, right? Like the first fight has to be in Australia, so even if he loses, the rematch has to be in Australia, and that he still gets the lion's share of the money. So he wanted to keep everything A side based on his behalf. And Devin Haney had to agree to those terms or however it went for the fight to happen. And that's what he was saying. All he has to do is agree to my terms. Right? I know that he gave him those terms out of fear because he was hoping that Devin Haney turned the fight down, and he didn't. And you're only afraid of somebody when you make all these ridiculous terms. Why? If he wins, then are we talking about a rematch still? See, that side of it didn't come up in conversation. It was basically based on if George Kambosos lost. Devin Haney wasn't talking about, well, what if I lose it? No, they were talking about the terms that Kambosos wanted. So if he does lose, he's still getting the lion's share of the money in the rematch. Well, we know in boxing, what did you hear your boy Bob Arum say? And what's the other guy, old Fish Eyes? What did you hear them guys saying? You make what you made in your last fight and the following. Which means even in just say 2 losing defeats, he already lost to Devin Haney. So let's say they fight again and he loses again. Well, he still made the lion's share of the money. So even in a losing defeat, he's still getting a big salary. You see what I'm saying? And pretty much, let's say he lost the 3rd fight after that. You understand? Well, your stock starts to go down. So at least you made up for some, you put more money in the bank than what you normally would have had, because you pretty much gave somebody crackhead stipulations. Now, Devin Haney took those stipulations because he wanted to be undisputed. Simple. And any other time when you negotiate in a fight, it's okay. You the A side now, but I beat you. Hey, the ball's in my court. So yeah, basically, it was like George Kambosos had a loaded gun, and basically, Devin Haney had a slingshot. I had to throw rocks. That's what Kambosos tried to do with those negotiations. Okay, if you notice, Bob Arum is not talking about a rematch between Kambosos and Devin Haney, because after that performance, it was the one-sided ass kicking. He dominated, man. Who's really looking forward to a rematch? Now, for George Kambosos, he can go out and fight someone, and pretty much, hell, Rolly Romero just lost. I'll say, go fight Rolly. Go fight whoever. Go fight that gas man you was talking about you could afford, a parking attendant or whatever you said you could afford instead of Haney. Right? That would be, okay, he racked another win up. Right? Start trying to build himself back up. Rebuild his, just start building his profile back up. Because he got dominated. It wasn't even like it was close. He lost every round in that fight. He got dominated. He talked a whole lot of stuff, and his mouth was able to convince people that he was going to beat Devin Haney. Not his skills, his mouth. And all of a sudden now he starts looking more skillful to people because of what he's saying, not what he's doing. Well, the fact is, Bob Arum is a businessman. These guys are all about business. And like you guys said, it would be a bigger fight between Kambosos and Lomachenko. Why? Since when was Kambosos popular? The difference being, well, he has a whole country behind him. Now, 42,000 is a lot of people, but they lied several times and said, sold out 50,000 people. It wasn't 50,000, it was 42,000, which is still a hell of a lot of people. Okay, but yeah, either way, he just beat the man that beat the man. That beat the man. So all these things you would try to pin on Kambosos for being that guy. Okay, cool. Well, Devin Haney is that guy now. Now, when you look at that side of things, that nobody's talking about a rematch, who cares to see that shit again? Not that it was a boring fight or nothing, but just the point of it was a one-sided fight. So, you always crying rematch when you don't get it done the first time. So, basically, they want to move on to Lomachenko. Now, at the end of the day, I could hear Kambosos crying out, I chose and I gave, which you ain't choose nothing. You was forced into that fight. Regardless, if you want to see the best fight the best. Now, if he's obligated to those terms, and it's the type of thing where George Kambosos can sue him if he don't go ahead, then I don't think Devin Haney will have a problem doing it again if that's the terms he agreed to. But overall, nobody really wants to see that again. And if he was to fight George Kambosos, if that was all, and that was all, that was in the stipulations. If I remember, I remember him saying clearly saying that. So basically, it would have to be, okay, George, we're going to offer you step aside money. It still doesn't mean that the rematch won't happen in Australia. It's just that, okay, let us get Lomachenko versus Haney in it first. And basically, at the end of the day, it's if George want to go with that or not. Because I do remember those stipulations, and I spoke about it. Okay. So pretty much the majority wants to see Devin Haney fight Lomachenko now. But you can't take credit away from anything that Devin Haney accomplished. You guys got to understand, like I said, you have a terrible habit of because this person beat this person or this person didn't look all that good against that person, and can't go by that, man. Not all the time. You really can't. Now, let me address this because I want people to understand something. Now, one of the family made a comment about they don't understand why it was a big deal about Bill Haney not being there because the same thing happened to Tyson Fury. Okay, I remember Tyson Fury's father. I think it was several occasions where he couldn't travel because of something he did in the past. Okay, nobody said it was fair. At least I didn't. I don't know what anybody else said. I'm not concerned or focused on what other people say or do. That's not what this is. You know, if I felt the need to speak about something someone said or did, that's one thing. You know, if I'm calling bullshit on something that somebody's doing. If Fury didn't make a big deal about it, so be it. That's Fury's choice. My whole thing was, and honestly, I actually made a video, and it took me too long to do what I had to do, and they said, nah, there's no need to even put this video up, because the video would have been up the same day of the fight. I wanted to put it out the day before. So it made no sense. And in that video, I said, you know, that's the way things go. Bill Haney should be there. Because I did put 2 videos out. But what I said in that video is he should, you know, be there in his corner. I said, okay, that's just the way things go. Personally, if it will affect Devin Haney or not, I don't know. We knew that Yoel was supposed to be there to pick up from where, you know, Bill left off. But Devin and Bill, they knew what their game plan was. And basically, from what I understand, the resistance that they was getting was from Kambosos' side. So, and what Bill and what Devin was saying, it was, you know, they didn't have any bad things to say about Australia, and they was kept thanking them for, you know, putting up the money and giving them all the opportunity that they had to fight there and everything. You know, basically, what George Kambosos' team was trying to, like, you know, they were trying to put a monkey wrench in the program. And my thing was, I read like comments about people, they were celebrating, man. Oh yeah, it's over for Devin now. Oh, what the fuck is what's the American gonna do now? Oh yeah, he ain't bringing no belts back nowhere. The belts stand in Australia, all celebrating. So basically, okay, I made a direct comment at people that was, let's just say, if Devin would have lost, and they were, oh, I don't want to hear no excuses about Bill not being there. A true professional will be able to do this and all of this other shit. They were saying a whole lot of things. So my whole thing was, so you actually are proud. It's like fighting a one-armed man. Let's just say, you know that a guy is injured in the fight. You beat him. Hey, it is what it is. But you know, as a warrior, nah, he wasn't 100%. You know, things happen. I don't want to be the person at 90% unless we're both at 90%. I don't see how you glorify, and, you know, it's like you're shooting on a 10-foot hoop and your opponents have to shoot on a 12-foot hoop. And you're, yeah, bragging and acting, you know, celebrating because you're winning. You know, so for me, that was my whole thing. And there was a whole lot of things being said. And you didn't really hear me talk too much about it. I didn't really detail a whole lot. So my whole thing was, you know, I know a lot of times you guys you chat with other people on different channels, and then sometimes people may give you feedback in a certain way, and you might have a majority or a lot of people coming at you one way. So don't ever get me mixed up with those people, because how they roll and how I roll is completely different. Okay, I'm built different from all of those other guys. Plain and simple. I don't dance to the beat of somebody else's drum. You guys know that by now. Okay, so I was addressing that clearly addressing, those situations. And, the fact that whoever, you had more than enough time to, sort things out with Bill Haney and his visa. It's evident, isn't it? Because it worked. And that came down to Devin Haney, said he even talked to his attorney. He said, man, I think say something about this or put something in writing, however, whatever he did, and he said, think it'll work. He said his attorney told him, I don't think it'll work, but let's try anyway. And he did, and it worked. So the same way they made that decision, they could have did that a long time ago. Now, whatever happened and didn't happen with Tyson Fury and his dad has nothing to do with me. I don't even think that I was really making videos about this stuff back then. You understand what I mean? But what does that have to do with Devin Haney? It's just like if you work somewhere and where you're working, management is shortchanging you. They're messing your hours up. They're messing your money up. Now, you make noise about it, and then somebody go, well, I don't see what the problem is. I mean, they short my money too. Well, that's your business if you don't want to stand up for your money. You don't want to stand up for your rights. You don't want to be treated fair. That's your business. That has nothing to do with the next person. So now what, the next person is a troublemaker or a crybaby because they're putting their foot down? No, simple. So he was able to make it, and people can kill all this nonsense because guess what? He went over there in Australia, dominated. He won these titles. And you know what? He's only 23 years old. So y'all can stop making these excuses up and shitting on fighters. See, when Canelo lost, I've said this a million times, there's certain fighters, oh, but they're only this, they're only 22, they're only 23, they're only this and this, but yet you got fighters that's over here, they're doing what they're doing at these same ages. And I've never heard anybody say, even when you're saying, oh, he didn't look that good against this person, that person. Well, where was the whole, he's only 23, he'll get better. But look at him, 23, unified. And instead of people, hey, give him his props. Oh, well, he didn't like he beat Lomachenko. So now, because he didn't beat Lomachenko, okay, whatever. Remember, how did he get his belt? How did he get it? Because Loma didn't want to fight him. And he chose to take the franchise championship and let his belt go. So why wasn't his belt a secondary belt when Lomachenko held it? See, all of this nonsense that people say and do. That's why I remind you of what you recycle, what you throw out, I recycle it and throw it right back at you. This is what happened. This is what it, so we're that same, you guys, you say things a lot of times, but you're not listening to yourselves. And like I said, one situation on how somebody else handled a situation is like, for example, the word nigga. You got people, oh, nigga this, nigga that, nigga this. So you got people that get used to it. And then all of a sudden, hey, yo, my nigga, hey, watch your mouth. I will knock the shit out of you. Oh, my, no, you don't see what you said wrong. Why? Because you got a lot of black people around you that let you say nigga. Why would you want to even say that fucking word? I don't even like black people. I'm not a nigga. I'm a man. I ain't nobody's nigga. And I done said this before. People don't talk to me that way. They know better. But if you get used to being around black people that's letting you say nigga, imagine you telling somebody, well, I don't see what the problem is. I got plenty of black friends that let me say nigga. Well, don't say it around me, because I will knock your teeth out your mouth. Simple. I'm a grown ass man, and I have class and I have respect for myself, and I do not walk around calling myself a nigga. All right, so you can't sit here and look at because somebody else put up with it. Well, why won't you put up with it? Again, whatever happened with Tyson Fury's situation, I'm not saying it's right. I don't know what his father did. But if they just let it go, well, that's on them. Okay. So now, being that Bill was approved to come this time, it should not be a problem if it's a second time. Okay? Regardless. One of the family also asked me, what did I think about Devin Haney making a racist comment? He made a comment about, I never let a white boy beat me. Same shit Bernard Hopkins said at one point. I clearly wasn't even aware of what Devin Haney said. And actually, just so y'all know this, I was just in a restaurant with my family, relaxing. We sitting there waiting for our food to come. And I just jumped on YouTube to see what was going on. And when I saw that question, I said, Okay, so then I typed in Devin Haney makes racist comment or something like that, and then they showed the video of him sitting there, and I'm like, wow, I didn't even know Devin Haney said that. So let me just say this, because I did respond to that person and salute to you. Um, Let me just say this: I don't condone anybody making racist comments. I don't teach my kids that way, and I wasn't taught that way. Okay, and at the end of the day, there's been several fighters who've said racist things, and I've called them out on it. Whether it was Deontay Wilder, whether it was Kovalev, whether it was Bernard Hopkins, you know, and when Bernard Hopkins made that comment, I definitely wasn't doing boxing content on YouTube back then. But Hector Camacho, there's been several people, Paulie Malignaggi. Um, at the end of the day, I don't condone it. I don't condone it. I don't know. A lot of times people do things to bring attention, to try to stir up something, to stir the pot up. I just don't condone that. My dad used to tell me stories, man, about how I remember him telling me about him being in Georgia. All right, imagine this. Just imagine. I can only imagine because believe me, it's a lot of stuff I don't talk about because it's a boxing channel. But I'm taking the time to put this in here. I've talked about this stuff before. Who been riding with me, y'all know already. My father used to tell me stories about how they couldn't go into white-owned restaurants. You see it on TV. You see these things, but having people that you love and tell you these things. He told me how there was a time where they couldn't even buy anything, and all the restaurants, all the stores were white-owned. So like, what were they going to do? They had to hunt for food in Georgia. Okay. My father also told me that it was a time where, well, now you can come in and order, but you can't sit down and eat. You got to go stand over in the corner, go away from everybody else and eat. And he said how people be standing there staring at them and just looking like in disgust, like, why are they here? We don't want them here. My dad didn't tell me those stories so I could grow up hating white people. My dad told me those stories because he wanted me to understand the difference in the times and what people are going through and what's still out there. You understand? To be careful and to educate me about things. And then I'm always reading things historically and all types of, that's just me. I've always been that way. And basically imagine if that was his point, then I would not have any white friends or associates or be nice to white people, period, if that was the case. You understand what I'm saying? So, I had a friend back in the day named Billy. We was on a wrestling team together. Now, when I leave the school to go to the other school to practice, to go to wrestling practice, I didn't have to go. Basically, when I left my house, I didn't have to go. I'm going out my way to go get Billy, then walk back past the same way I just came to go back to the school. And every time I would get there, it was these two white guys that was on the wrestling team as well. And they would always be in Billy's house, in his apartment, rather. And then, like, Billy had been in my house many times. Billy ate off our plates and forks and spoons, not plastic, not styrofoam. He ate off the same plates, the same china and silverware that we used. You understand what I'm saying? Billy, we used to sit there watching professional wrestling and just chilling and watching, movies and stuff or whatever. We always did that. Billy felt extremely comfortable around my family. I had never in my life ever been in Billy's apartment, not one time. And, one day it kind of hit me. Like, every time I would go ring Billy's bell, oh, he'll be right down. Now, long story short, let me tell you what this came down to. Where he lived was like borderline before you got to the next town, going back the opposite of where I lived. And where I lived was a predominantly black and brown neighborhood, mostly black. Billy was scared, and his parents were scared for him. So pretty much when he would walk with me, it was for protection. Nobody ever bothered him. Neither one of those guys. Now, when the truth came out, like when I understood what was happening, I stopped going to his house. And you know what he did? He quit the wrestling team. It wasn't until years later, as grown-ups, when we met up, and him and his sister, they apologized to me about back in the day. Because I knew what it was. And I said, yeah, I know. I'm not stupid. That's why I stopped coming to your house, Billy. I knew what it was. And aside from the wrestling team, we never really seen each other in the hallways in school. But at the end of the day, he always tried to walk with me. That's when I would see him after school, because we had to come home, change everything. It was different, and then go back to the school. But I didn't have to go up to his house. I could have just went home and went back. I'm walking 3, 4 blocks up to go get him just to come back, right? But when we spoke about that, he was in tears, man, and so was his sister. Like, and I'm like, listen, I'm over that. He's like, well, you were always so good to us, man, and our parents was racist, man. Hey, listen, say less. And then I said, I let him talk. I wanted him to get it out and her, and I said, so let me just tell y'all both this: don't end up doing the same thing to your kids that your parents is doing with you. Human beings are human beings, but everybody don't see it that way because there's many people who will always be here that want racism to exist because they're taught that nonsense. So I don't condone that from anyone. I have black people that get mad at me because I call something down the middle. Like when Fury and Wilder was beefing and they was like, this is us against them, and they was like, yo, this is racist. And I'm like, wait, what's racist? Like, tell me what. And they were talking all this kind of stuff, just making stuff up. Y'all know who these popular channels are. They just can't. And I'm like, okay, so what did Fury do that was racist? Because I definitely would have called his ass out on it if I felt like that's what I saw. But at the same time, the only person that was talking about us versus them and was making it racist was Wilder. So I didn't even understand where that came from. And oh man, y'all ride with them crackers, man. The stinking ass UK motherfuckers, all blah blah. And I'm like, hey yo, first of all, and well, they wouldn't say that shit to my face anyway. But you see, on this keyboard, they're oh man, you over there on slaving, cooning for the white man. So basically, for me to see something for what it is and not sit here and go with this delusional, these lies that people make up, y'all can keep all of that. Man, I have kids. How would I feel if somebody was mistreating my kids because of their skin color? I've had people try to mistreat me, but see, I can defend myself, and my kids at an age now they can defend themselves as well. But at the same time, they're still kids. But I don't condone that from anyone. So yeah, I took the time to see what was said, and then I responded. Now I'm responding in the video, and like I've said, man, I don't condone that from anyone. I try to focus on the boxing, and a lot of times, like I said, I'm busy. I'm really busy, and I'm doing things, but everything is not newsworthy to me. A lot of times, I look, and it's like you got 100 boxing channels all talking about the same little incidents, and it's nothing really coming out of it. Just he said, she said, possibility, what if, maybe. And it's like for me to put time and energy into that is like, okay, whatever. So I just wanted to address that and understand. Like I said in the last video, the goal is to be undisputed, right? It's not to be a champion of a particular country, a particular section of a country, world champion, and whatever weight class you're in. And if that's what you're representing, then you need to be respectful and humble and thankful because people don't have to support your career. And when people talk about, oh, this person has a whole country behind them, and nothing lasts forever. And the whole thing is, even if that's the case, you need great opponents to put you on that next level, to put you up on them pedestals that you're trying to reach, right? So at the end of the day, for me, you never hear me, oh, we got to bring the gold back home. No, I'm just watching two guys fight. May the best man win. I don't get caught up in my feelings about that. Other people do. I'm not into all of that. If they win, we win. No, if they win, they win. I just appreciate a good fight. You understand? Respect certain people for what they do. And that's it. But at no point do I condone any type of racism. Never. Never. So, it is what it is. And the problem is, and I'll tell anybody, if you got racist friends and family members and they say racist shit and you sit up and ha about it, but then you different when you around other people yourself, you want to portray a role, it'll come out. People don't correct people for their wrong. Like I said, I'm built different. So I'm a no-nonsense type of person, and people know there's certain things they're not going to do around me. They know that. Certain things they're not going to say around me. So At the end of the day, we're all accountable for what comes out of our mouths and how we conduct ourselves. Now focus on me. And again, I'll bring you guys the boxing news. I try to stay away from political stuff and all this other stuff, but there are certain things that I, mention because it's noticeable when you see what's going on. But everybody need to be on the same page with that. But I can't control that. Like I said, everybody's accountable for their own. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all in the next video.